You're a very, very emotional person. I mean, because
Totally.
I've known you, and when you get
Helplessly
emotional, when you get emotional while you're commentating, you know, I see people on the internet saying, "Wow, Jim Lampley was really emotional," but those people don't know that you are actually doing a good job holding it in. Because I've seen you extremely emotional, you know, talking about your experience with your daughter in Barcelona Olympics and so forth.
You are so right. I mean, you nailed me, Hikari. That is absolutely true. There's a woman named Molly Solomon who will produce my daytime segments in Beijing at the NBC Beijing Olympics. And she's produced my shows at the Olympics for 5 consecutive Olympics now. And one of the things that Molly is very skillful at doing is understanding how to control the content so that Jim won't lose it on the air. So that Jim isn't going to crash into tears or in some other way emotionally break down because of my tremendously emotional connection to the Olympics and to the people there and the stories I've covered for so many years. There have been times when we stop down a taping and she'll say to me, "Okay, go collect yourself for 10 minutes because this next interview is not going to be easy for you to do." And that's about knowing me and my over-emotionalism. I mean, when George Foreman beat Michael Moore to win the heavyweight championship at age 45 in 1994, and this is my broadcast colleague, called dozens, maybe hundreds of fights, and he wins the legitimate heavyweight championship of the world 20 years after having won it the first time. I think it's one of the greatest accomplishments in sports history. It was all I could do to make it to the end of that telecast because I was so excited for George. And you're supposed to be a dispassionate commentator. It's not easy for me.
It happened.
It happened. It happened.
Right.
That's and the funny thing is, you know, if you're a certain kind of sportscaster who prepares probably in the right way, then you would have said to yourself somewhere in the days leading up to that fight, okay, do I have an omnibus button line? Do I have some capsule statement that I want to make if George happens to win the fight? I never thought of it. Never gave it a moment's thought. There was, in my view, there was no way that George Foreman could beat Michael Moore and win the fight. I would say to him, months in advance, I'd say, "George, how are you going to beat Michael Moore? He's a southpaw, he moves, he wouldn't stand still for Holyfield. Why in the world would he stand still for you?" And George would say, "You watch, you wait. There's going to come a moment late in the fight when he'll come and stand in front of me and I'll knock him out." So when it happened, the first thing I thought as I'm watching Joe Cortez count over Moore's body is, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I prepare some line? I mean, why can't I say, "Do you believe in miracles?" at a moment like this? What am I going to say? And all that came out of my mouth was, "It happened. It happened." That's the best line in my boxing career. That's the most memorable, most galvanizing line I've uttered in 22 years of calling fights, and it was purely spontaneous.
It's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, you can't. First of all, you can't control it, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
It's a slippery slope, you know. I mean, it's good because it drives me to performances that help keep me in the business, make people think I'm good at what I do. Right. But it's also very hard for me sometimes to control my emotions on the air.